All right, Yahoo Fantasy Football, we are going to break down the NFL schedule, talk about how we think things are going to play out. We're going to start here with the NFC South. We're going to talk about how we think the NFC South is going to break down in the 2010 season. My guest today is going to be Troy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Troy to the program.
Hey guys, hey. Glad to be here. Thank you. I am loved. I understand. Yes. Who am I? You might be asking that. I'm Troy. You've actually introduced me already. But we also play in the same fantasy leagues.
Across the board, but
yes.
In my fantasy league, you are the owner of which team?
Your fantasy league for football?
Yes.
Would that be Overactive? No, Overactive
Nope.
Ladder's a different one. I am Jammed Toe in that
Yes,
league.
you are Jammed Toe. You are in the same division as a few of your friends there.
Yes.
It's going to be probably the
Gonna be
most competitive division in the league, so definitely looking forward to how that's going to play out. How were you last season? You were pretty successful last season, correct?
Yes.
Made the playoffs.
I did make the playoffs. Didn't have the result we were looking for because I expect greatness every time I play. Even though I don't put forth the effort usually, but
So you're like
it should just
Lamar Odom.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a quality
Reggie
sixth
Bush.
man who did not make it with his previous team and had to go to a team with superstars to look good.
Oh, okay. So superstars probably means me.
What division were we talking about?
The NFC South is what we're going to be talking about here. Why don't we break out the stats? We actually went game by game to decide how things were going to play out. This took us probably about a month.
Game by game,
to complete. Okay, it actually took us about a day, but it was pretty exhausting and sweaty. And here's what we think is going to happen in the NFC South. Why don't you tell us how you think things will play out?
The NFC South! Okay, we've got, you want to go with mine?
Yeah, let's start with yours.
Okay, I have the Atlanta Falcons actually winning this division, taking down the Saints from last year, going 12-4. New Orleans at 11-5, Carolina at 9-7. I'm a huge Panthers fan, so there may be some bias, but 9-7 seems doable. And Tampa at 3-13.
Okay, so much to talk about there. Let's talk about where I ranked things. I have New Orleans actually finishing 13-3 and taking that division.
Yes.
Then I have the Atlanta Falcons at 10-6. The Carolina Panthers I put at 7-9. We'll talk a little bit about why we differ on that. And then I have Tampa Bay, just like he does, finishing 3-13 in a very non-competitive season. So let's break it down. Let's find out.
Break it down.
Why do you have the Falcons winning the division?
Matt Ryan, another year in. Is this his third year?
I believe so.
Let's say his third year. Hopefully I'm right, otherwise I'll look like an idiot. But who cares?
Yeah, who's going to watch this?
Yeah, exactly. Matt Ryan and Michael Turner, also another year older as a starter. They've got potential Roddy White still. They've got young guys who are still progressing.
They were actually on a really good path last season until Ryan got hurt and things kind of stopped for that offense. So, yeah, I think, and then they also have Tony Gonzalez at tight end.
Right.
And they've got a very serviceable defense.
It's all there. They just have to put it together, and I think the big risk with the Falcons right now would be injuries. Like you mentioned, because Michael Turner can also get hurt. I believe they still have Norwood, too.
Yes, they do.
So they should be fine. I really just like the Falcons right now. Why would you put the Saints ahead of them?
First off, I think the Saints' offense is unchanged, really, from last season. So there's no reason to bet against the Saints' offense. Doing what they did last season, they were capable of coming back late in games, which I think is great. They are very well coached, which is very important in this league. Also, I think the defense is going to actually step up and improve over last year. So I think they're actually going to get a little bit better on the defensive side.
Do you?
Yes.
You think they'll get just as many turnovers as last year?
No.
Lucky?
Well, turnovers they might. They might get just as many turnovers. Probably not. They had a ridiculous number last season.
Yes.
But on the whole, the defense I think is going to perform better as a unit because these guys will have been together. They've got a lot of the same pieces that got into the Super Bowl last year.
I am a big-time Jonathan Vilma fan. He did well for the Jets. Now with the Saints. It's good stuff right there. I got a question for you.
Yes.
Why does Tampa suck so much? What are they missing?
Name me. Well, they're missing players, is what they're missing.
Oh yes, they don't have a 52-man roster.
That is part of the problem. They do not have a 52-man roster. They have a 12-man roster filled out with a bunch of goats, women, and blocks of cheese for the rest of the lineup. So I really don't think Tampa's going to compete. I do think that Josh Johnson's going to lose the job to Josh Freeman during the course of the season. I think Josh Freeman is going to win them one or two of those 3 games.
Josh Freeman's the future.
Yes.
That's what I hear down in Tampa. The 3 fans that they have.
Yeah.
I think they're still trying to remember the days. I really honestly think they might go back to the bags. Bags on the heads.
It could be one of those years in Tampa.
It's going to be one of those years.
They're a rebuilding franchise that seems to have no direction. So, but one thing we do differ on is Carolina.
Carolina.
You have Carolina with a winning record. I have them with a losing record. Oddly, though, we didn't put them 8-8.
Yes, and I believe while we were picking the games, I had Carolina at 7-2 at one point, and I'm like, that's kind of ridiculous. But if you look at their schedule, I don't have it up right now. If you look at their schedule, they do have some cupcake games. I know they play like Seattle. They play, I believe, Cleveland too. They play that NFC West.
Yes, and I think
Whole
one
division.
thing that people are forgetting is that Matt Moore was very good last year.
Yeah.
He was not great, but he didn't have to be. He was very good, and as long as the running backs stay healthy and Matt Moore progresses like he should, I think this team is actually going to be very competitive in a lot of games. Now, you have them winning more games than they have losing. On the other hand, have them losing a couple more games. I do think some changes are on the way for the Carolina franchise in the next couple of years. And
John Fox going to leave?
I think Fox is going to wind up out after this season. And also, Steve Smith, nobody's behind Steve Smith as far as that wide receiving core goes.
He's not behind his own team half the time.
Pretty much. So I think struggling with Steve Smith's replacement in the future is going to hurt this team. They don't really have any second options on that squad this year. That's why I think they wind up losing more than they win.
And let's not forget they did lose Julius Peppers and honestly have no one to replace him with.
Yes.
John Beeson's still there, Thomas Davis off their defense. You still got Chris Gamble. They still have pieces, but they don't have that complete puzzle that a quality playoff team might be looking for. They might get lucky with that weak schedule, and I think Matt Moore will definitely take the job over Jimmy Clausen.
I think Matt Moore will be one of the top half quarterbacks. When all said and done, I think he will be one of the top 16 starting quarterbacks in a 32-team.
They play well against tougher teams, and they play New Orleans well.
And they're always they play New Orleans and Atlanta well, but they still play Atlanta well. So.
They still play them well.
So
that counts.
Yes,
we lost. Well. We lost, but we played them well.
At least they're not like Jacksonville, who doesn't even play Houston well.
Right.
But that's another division.
Another division.
Yeah. So that's the NFC South, and check out some of the other videos. We're going to talk about some other teams as well.
Please.